Welcome, everyone. I'm Dan Reichstein with the Center for Teaching and Learning. I am the Media Technology Support Specialist through the CTL. And at this training, we're going to be discussing closed captioning videos for ADA compliance. Now, this has come up in discussion specifically for Title II requirements. And when it comes to video assets, part of making a video asset accessible is to also provide either a transcription or a caption option for those who are deaf or hard of hearing. And the idea is that it will be the way where you can toggle on the CC button. So that way, if someone can't hear, they're able to read the words on the screen. So as we get into this, I want to give a quick overview of ADA compliance through policy for Maricopa. And that's any college-controlled content available via the internet to students and the general community must be accessible through closed captioning. So early on, when we were first talking about closed captioning needs, it was described as anyone who has access to Maricopa content, whether it was on Vimeo or YouTube. If it did not have closed captionings, our content would be out of compliance. Since then, we've worked to have the content be compliant by making sure that a caption file is created and edited and available. Because once you create a caption file, you can turn it into a transcript file, a document that can be read. The idea behind all this accessibility is to understand that you have a piece of material, and as long as you provide another accessible avenue for that same information, you are in compliance. But in ours, I like discussing our goal really is to create the closed captioning files in most situations, or the transcript for EMCC videos for ADA compliance. So the first question I would ask to you is the video you created, is it a video you created or a video you found on the web? That will determine your strategy for how you proceed with your captioning needs. If you created the video, we recommend you upload it to your Canvas Studio library because that has an auto captioning feature that we're going to walk through here. The other option is to upload it to a YouTube channel connected to your Maricopa email, which provides another auto captioning feature that you can also go in and edit. The other one we're going to cover in here will also be Google Share Drive, because recently I have discovered when I uploaded a video file to the Google Share Drive, it also does auto captioning. However, it's a little more limited than the other two options. And the big requirement is if you already have videos, say in your courses, you have to make sure that they have that CC button that you can toggle on and off. If that video does not have it, it's considered out of compliance, out of Title II compliance as well. So I'm talking about a concept called video hosting. Ultimately, you've created a video file and it has to live somewhere. So that can either be, when you're working with us, it's either through YouTube, Canvas Studio, Google Share Drive. There's some legacy content that might still be on the EMCC Vimeo channel. However, we're not really using that one as much anymore, but there's a possibility that that could be where content is also living. But the idea is that a lot of the content that was posted to EMCC Vimeo has been closed captioned as it's being used. I'm under the impression that EMCC Vimeo's channel is now under the library. So any questions about the management of Vimeo should be directed to EMCC's library. However, the CTL has a YouTube channel that hosts department content. So there could be videos that are through departments, and instead of them being under an individual's YouTube channel, they're under the CTL's. And the reason for that is for a concept called service account. The idea is that if you create a YouTube channel under your Maricopa email, you leave our institution, part of that is that they would turn off the YouTube channel connected to the Maricopa email, so that content would be lost. In order to avoid that, we have what's called a service account that groups create by creating a help desk ticket with IT, and then I would help you walk through the management of your channel. That's in another workshop called Managing Your YouTube, but here we're solely going to focus on closed captioning. But that's the concept of video hosting. Before I continue, are there any questions about video hosting? Check in the chat. No, I don't see anything in the chat, and we will continue. So I'm first going to talk about Canvas Studio because that was the best option of the three, considering that you have the most control over where the content is seen. Because if you have something in your Canvas Studio library, it's not seen until you publish it to a page. So if you have a module set up, that module isn't unlocked, that video is not unlocked until the students reach that channel. As opposed to YouTube, where the difficulty is it favors things being more public. So it's harder to have, I get asked this a lot by instructors that, oh, I don't want them to go ahead and watch videos for week 3 if we're only on week 1. It's kind of difficult to do that on YouTube, but easier to do that with Canvas Studio. And that's why in this, I want to talk about that there are 3 options for adding content to the Canvas Studio library. You can add media, which is where you're uploading files. Those are either MOVs, which are common for iPhones and Apple products, MP4s, which is pretty standard video file as of now. AVI is a legacy video file, may have been made on older software, or a WAV file, which is a Windows audio file that you can upload directly into your Canvas Studio library. What happens, another option for adding media is to paste a link from YouTube or Vimeo into your Canvas Studio library. The reason why I outlined these 2 options is because we were talking about the Canvas quizzes feature. That only works if you add content to your Studio library, is how you can unlock the quizzing feature where the video stops, asks a question, video continues, stops, asks a question. That doesn't work until you add content to your Canvas Studio library. And then the other option in Canvas Studio is the record option or the capture option. And what happened is you have two features within that. There's studio capture, which is basic screen recording. It could be me on a webcam or a microphone over a screen recording. Simple start stop, no frills, no editing. The other option is called Screencast-O-Matic, where it unlocks a lot of, I call it a courtesy editor. It allows you to trim and put in titles and transitions and other video clips into a video you're making exclusively in Canvas Studio. And that's just a feature I make people aware of as part of the workflow. I do a separate workshop on screen recording that I'm going to have in about 4 weeks from now. So please look out in the calendar as I would go further into the creation side. We're really just going to focus on the caption side. And the reason why that matters is because now, as you see, there are 2 options. You'd see 2 windows. There's either the drag and drop or the add the link from YouTube and Vimeo. And as you proceed, I want to make you aware too that your studio or Canvas Studio is under the studio option that would be on your tools within the course. It's not going to be on the outer course like you're used to seeing on a lot of the pitch videos for Canvas Studio. It would show it as outside. The one we have is specifically inside of a course under the term Studio. And once you have added the content to the course, it will appear in your library as a tile similar to YouTube. And you can go through and add collections and keep stuff organized. But the thing I'm going to focus on primarily is captioning. Specifically in this, we're going to go through the original way to do it. And then I'm going to show you the video game cheat code so that it will do this automatically. You don't have to do this process all the time. Originally, before the video game cheat code, I'll call it, you'd have to upload the video and then make a request to auto caption the video you uploaded or create it directly in Canvas Studio. You'd hit the blue request button on the bottom of the page under captions. And then a box would appear that says caption request. It's asking what language the video is to be captioned in. This matters because if you misidentify the language, it will attempt to caption it thinking it is not the correct language. That could create issues. So make sure that you've identified the appropriate language, and then you will click the blue request button underneath the language taskbar. What'll happen next is it'll say processing next to the language of your video. You'll see it'll say It says not published here, but what it means is it'll say processing. Once it's complete, most of the times it'll send an email to your Maricopa email saying, yep, captioning is complete. It takes about 2 times the length of a video for auto captions to start to populate on average, at most 24 hours. But when it is completed, it would show up as not published. And that means that you need to go in and review the edit and review the captions, then publish them. So you would go in, hit the drop-down menu there's a more options button. That's the 3 vertical dots next to not published. When you click it, a drop-down menu appears that will say review and publish. And that will take you into the caption editor. And from here, you can review the video. It already has the text populated on what it thinks it's hearing from your video. You're able to go in, click in, make edits and changes. And then when you're complete, you press publish. This doesn't mean that it's preserved in stone. You can go back and make edits if you missed anything. It's just allowing you to go through the captions, and if it got a specialized term or jargon incorrect, you're able to go in and fix it very easily. Now, here is the video game cheat code. In this, there will be settings inside of Canvas Studio, and under the option called Personal, there is captioning, and there are 2 buttons you will want to enable so you don't have to do that process every time you upload a video. Because if you don't hit this button, you would have to do that process I showed you every time, or else the videos appearing in your Canvas Studio library would be uncaptioned until you made a request. But you don't have to worry about it. If you go into the settings under Personal and enable auto captioning is checked to green, and enable auto publishing for automatic captions check to green. Because what would happen would be if you only check the first one, it would have the video auto captioned, but it would be sitting there waiting for you to review and publish. Still would not have the captions. But by enabling the second button, it would already have captions enabled. You can still go in and make changes. It's just so that it pushes it through the process, so that it's enabled, so that there is captions to satisfy compliance. As I mentioned, you can go in and make corrections. And I also have enabled to send notification when automatic captions are generated, because it's very helpful to know that it's done and I can return to it. Now, I want to make people aware of, there were times where you would add a YouTube link or a Vimeo link. I think that's been corrected, but there was a time where captions in a YouTube video or Vimeo video were not populating in Canvas Studio. And we did have a workaround that in the event that that wouldn't happen, you are able to go to upload. Now, what that's asking is upload wants you to provide a caption file. If it is a video you own or created on YouTube, there is a way to navigate to go get the caption file from YouTube to upload it to Canvas Studio, if that proceeded to be an issue. If it's a video you don't own and it's not captioned, that's where you would want to add a transcript document that's underneath that can be downloaded. But from here, I'm showing you the navigation for YouTube. You would be logged in with your, I'm logged in under my Estrella account, because if you log in with your Maricopa email, it might not be as direct. I have better luck being under Estrella than I do under Maricopa. It gives me the most access to my account. I click my little icon, that's me as the user, and I go to what's called YouTube Studio. This is into the management side of YouTube. Then I go to this section called Subtitles, and I navigate to the video I want to get the captions from, which would be, in this case, the 3D printer. And then that brings me into the video subtitle section, where you will know it did the automatic captions because there'll be the language, in this case English, parentheses automatic. Now I have done edits to the captions, so that is why I see an English video and language, which means that I did edits, so it created a English version from the automatic version. The automatic version, if you play, may still have the errors or the misspelled jargon in it. but most of the time when you make the edits, it supersedes the automatic by playing the regular language version. Now from this, a drop-down menu will appear because I want to download it, and I choose the SRT file. I have the least amount of issues with an SRT file in comparison to the other 4 caption files that are provided. It will download as captions.srt, but I don't recommend that you leave it called captions because you may be working with several videos. So I always encourage you to rename captions SRT to the name of the video. If it can be the exact name of the video like the MP4, that's preferable. Because actually, if you open it up in a program like VLC and you had your caption file and your MP4 in the same folder, VLC would be able to read, and you can go into subtitles in VLC and enable them to have captions be able to play locally if you were in that scenario. So that's the value of having your caption file and your video file together offline. So once you have downloaded that SRT file, you can go to the upload option on Canvas Studio, identify the language, click upload, and then you know now that this content is in compliance because you can toggle captions on and off. It is this little text box that's next to a gear icon and an expand window. I think the microphone icon's to the left of it. And that is so that you can have the video that's in Canvas Studio in compliance, because once again, when we were talking about quizzes in Canvas Studio, what seemed kind of odd was that if caption files don't populate, you have quizzes on a video that doesn't enable captions. I could see that being an issue, but this was to fix a potential issue if, like I said, if caption files are showing up, you don't have to do this step, but if they are not showing up, we would follow this process to get the captions in Canvas Studio. Now, I have this link that I will share to the group. It's called download check subs. This exists in the scenario where you need to get a subtitle transcription from a video you do not own. So I will share that link to all of you. Click it. And that's going to take me to a page that allows me to put in a URL. And that's to be used when you're in a scenario where you are unable to get videos that you found on the web. And that's how you'd be able to get the transcription file, because there may be a situation where you also need to provide the transcription. And that is the most direct way to get a caption file that you can save as a transcription. Like I said, it's all about creating accessibility through the content, because there may be scenarios where you can't create a caption file, and that is where you would go to a transcription. Now, this is a scenario I want to talk about. This is the Google Share Drive. I have noticed when I uploaded content into the Google Share Drive that it actually does auto captions akin to how it would do it for YouTube. Granted, I found it to be a very limited options in it. It does allow me to toggle on and off captions. However, when it comes to the editing phase, it's pretty limited. It would let me download the file and I can open it in a word processor and make corrections, and then add a new caption track in to make corrections in this scenario. That's really the only way to do editing in Google Share Drive. I find it to be, like I said, I find it to be kind of limited. So it's not my favorite of the 3 because, quite honestly, it's doing it as a courtesy. But in terms of a caption editing tool, you would probably be using either Canvas Studio or YouTube to try to make edits. There are other programs that exist out there, but I'm loath to recommend them because they are very steep in learning curves. There actually are programs called, it's called Subtitle Horse, is a manual captioning program. The only issue I had with that, it was not very user-friendly. However, I will mention that programs like Camtasia and Clipchamp do provide the option for creating a caption file within those programs. So a lot of the video editor programs are starting to also have the ability to create caption files within them. It's just a matter of preference at that point, because there are those who can just make the video file and the caption file all within the same program. Then you're just essentially uploading both those files to a video host to satisfy compliance. Or you could upload the video, edit the caption files like on YouTube, and then you're in compliance. So it just depends on timing, and then again, I'm taking advantage of the auto captioning because it already does most of the labor, which is getting the text in order, and you making light editing is a different workflow than creating a transcript from scratch. Another thing I wanted to mention specifically in this scenario is this also helped out because originally Google Share Drives, you would have to have created a caption file through a third-party software, attach the caption file and the video file together in the Google Share Drive in order for captioning to exist. So the fact that there is an auto captioning feature in Google Share Drive is very useful, and I like making people aware of that. Before I continue, I want to just look in the chat and see if there are any questions so far. And if not, we will continue on, I believe, to YouTube, because I want to point out that there is a transcription button attached to videos that allows you to see the timing, and you can click to the section you want to go to. It is something where, without the link I shared to you, this is difficult to do because you'd have to go in, select all this text, and drop it into a document. So I kind of want to avoid doing that. So that's why I shared that link to you. Now, I want to show you what the editor for YouTube looks like specifically. So I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm going to exit out of that. And I want to show you what it looks like from my personal YouTube channel as opposed to CTL YouTube channel, because it does look different. I have different options in a service account than I do in a personal account. So I want to be more reflective of your experience if you had a YouTube channel connected to your Maricopa email. Is there a question? And it's okay. If you have a question, please feel free to ask. I just want to make sure before we continue on. Okay, with that, I will continue on to YouTube, because this is the one you may run into if you are not using Canvas Studio. In this scenario, I have created a video that it's called Caption Me. I uploaded it, and one of the key things I did was that, I believe in description, I put a tag that is called YT:CC equal on. What that's doing is that it's turning on captions. When the video comes on, captions are automatically toggled to on. I did it in the old days because I was told that it would be a way of identifying a video to make sure that captions are enabled. Just let you know, sorry, something popped up in the chat. Let you know that it took 20 minutes to access this meeting. I sent you an email. Sorry about that, Nancy, but just to let you know, this is being recorded. So I will send a copy of the YouTube channel. Oh, excuse me. This will be on the CTL YouTube channel for viewing afterwards, so that we can cover the previous materials. We're on to talking about YouTube. No problem. So the reason why I talk about that tag, it was really to and also too, one of the key factors of when you have a channel is to identify the language of the video is very important. I identify, all my videos are in English. However, good question. If people are uploading a video in Spanish, you have to make sure that that video language is identified as Spanish so that it's providing native caption. Now, granted, we're not there yet, so I want to just go into the simple editor. But there is the ability to take captioned files in YouTube and convert them to other languages. But first, I want to show you what the YouTube editor, caption editor, looks like. So I had it all enabled in here. I'm not getting into the bits and pieces of YouTube because that's another workshop. But I am going to go to subtitles. And like I had said, if you first uploaded and didn't do any editing, you would see English, parentheses, automatic captions. And what I want to do is I would go into duplicate and edit. And what that does is it says, okay, this was my attempt to make closed captions for you. And you could see it made some mistakes. Time consuming. I want to autocorrect that. I can see that it got the email wrong. CTL at estrellamountain.edu. Audio visual technician. So in this one, it's pretty simple. I'm just kind of going through. Now it will give me the text corrections, but I can also hit edit timings. And this is going to show me where in the video the words are popping up on the screen. So you will see your text editor, timing. Below it, you will see, I call it the timeline because that's from an editing term, is the bottom. It's showing me exactly when those words pop up. You see these little waves on the bottom. That is the audio showing when talking is happening. And in this main video, it's called the preview window in video creation. And it means when I play it back, I'm going to see that it says,
when it comes to ADA,
I hear my voice, and I heard, when it comes to ADA compliance, and I would continue through this video. I can even magnify out, and I can see the timings of when it jumps from one to the other. There are situations where you want it to be accurate to when people are speaking. So one of the flaws of auto captioning on YouTube is that it'll have words up long after people have stopped speaking. So that is why you would hover over the timeline to get the 2 arrows, and then you can adjust how long or short it stays on. And even you can add other captions too. However, I want to make people aware that when you are working with the editor caption editor, I do not encourage you to delete captions because you cannot do Control Z or undo it. You can do it if you typed in something wrong, but I don't recommend out and out deleting captions unless they are just in the way and there's no other way to put them there. Because if you do hit the garbage can, you can't undo it, and you'd have to add, with the plus sign, another caption file and manage it in. I would recommend text migration to the next caption box versus out and out deleting a caption file. But that's just come from me doing this all these years. So pretend that I sat through this and I checked all the files and I made sure that everything was accurate and on point. And the other idea too is not in this scenario, but in other scenarios where there are music, sound effects, different speakers. You do need to identify in here with like a little bracket. I could go in and say, just for an example, who's speaking, parentheses, CTL,
when it comes to ADA,
pardon me, AV tech, parentheses. That's who's talking, is the CTL AV tech. And because in this video, the CTL AV tech is talking the whole time, this satisfies who's talking. So I leave that alone. But if someone else started talking, you would go into the go in there, type in parentheses, the name of the other person talking. Just even if it's speaker 1, speaker 2, because that's also part of the experience is, oh, other people are talking. It wasn't just one person the whole time. Depends on the media. There are times where you're watching closed captions on your television. They have to say character off screen or John or Bill because you don't see them, but if you could hear them, you would know who it was. But how are they able to know who it is? And that's part of this. Same thing with sound effects, music cues, scary music, tense music. You'll start to see if you were watching Netflix or Amazon or any of those streaming services and have the captions on, you'll start to notice what's put in the brackets and how they caption to be in compliance. And when you are done with all of this, you would you can save draft. I'm going to keep editing, but when I'm definitely done, I'm going to press publish. And that's going to create the proper file that will now populate when I go and watch this video. So let's go test it out. I'm going to go into the video. I'm going to check it.
When it comes to ADA compliance, any college-controlled content available via the internet to students and the general community must be made accessible through closed captioning.
Okay, so now that I'm looking at this, I can see that it's captioned. I can toggle it on and off. I believe I can get to the transcription. Yep, show transcription. So that'll populate on the right side. And then I can toggle timestamps on and off. And this makes it searchable. People can get to sections. But that is why now this item is now considered in compliance because it has the closed captioning. When you are working with Panorama, it may ask you when it scans your course, hey, this video has no human captions. Can you confirm? So the point is, in those scenarios, you would go and check the video, make sure it has the CC button that you can toggle on and off. If it is there, you can go in and check the box in Panorama's flagged content, and then that's in compliance. But the idea is sometimes it won't be able to scan it. It may go, hey, this video has no human captions. If you go and look and there are captions, you can verify. And that's part of what Panorama is doing when it's scanning your course content. Now, I would like to return to PowerPoint slide because a few more things I'd like to discuss before I open it to questions. So just to make people aware that there are many roads that you can create a caption file from, a transcript from, because originally when people had video content and they wanted to quickly create a transcription, one of those options were to bring it into word processor through Office 365 and then enable what's called, it's under dictate. There's a button called transcribe, and it would take your MP4 file, analyze your audio, and create a text file. It would even break down the timings and speakers, all that fun stuff, and it would make your transcription document that, as I've said, if you have a video and you have a transcription document that the students have equal access to both, you are being within Title II compliance. Continuing onward. This is a feature, a program I don't use as much anymore. It's called amara.org. It was useful in the era where auto captioning wasn't available for Vimeo specifically. It was how we were able to manually create caption files, and I will give transparency that this is possible to do in a video that's 10 minutes or less. Takes about an hour. Videos that exceed 10 minutes, this becomes pretty difficult to do manually. Just to let you know, right now, we're recording in WebEx, and what WebEx is doing is it's actually going to also create a transcription file of the video file that I'm creating with you all right now. So if I were to share this video from WebEx to you, it would already have the words pop up on the bottom, and this meeting would be in compliance. So a lot of the time when I'm talking to people and I get the vibe that they want to do long form content, I do recommend them go the route of WebEx or Zoom. The CTL also captures media in Zoom, and it does a very similar thing where it'll provide a caption file. So that tends to be on the long form content. You can go in and edit meeting notes in WebEx as well, but this is a legacy. It still exists. Amara.org still exists. It's just not used as frequently because this was a solution for videos you did not own, because ultimately you would create a caption file that would create a viewer. So you're watching a YouTube video through the Amara.org player to see captions, because there were no captions on the content you've used. I have been in meetings where it was said, if you have videos that do not have captions, do not use those videos. I am of the mind that if it can be fixed, it can be addressed, I would provide the solution for that. So I wouldn't out and out say, don't use those videos, but be prepared to put in the work to get those videos to compliance. And you yourselves can make your judgment on, is this getting the information across? Do I have the time to go through long form videos for captioning? Is there other methods of communicating the information that would be more efficient? Those are the decisions I leave up to staff and faculty to address. But I do want to let you know that there is an option for taking on manual captioning. It's just something where the amount of time dedicated to it should just be aware of it. Like I said, that's why I talk about a lot of these auto features, because deep down, having a program like Canvas Studio, Google's Drive, or YouTube automatically take a pass at that video. I could go in there and try to, or having written a script, paste in the script. But then there are people who have the style of liking to talk off the cuff. So then they don't want to be on a script, but they want to be able to talk. But now they have to have in the back of their mind, everything I have spoken in this video needs to also be written in text form. But in a way, you're not locked in because of the auto features that are available in these programs. It's just the next step would be to go through and edit it for specialized language or bilingual language, because the reality is we work at a school that uses Spanish words, and it will attempt to make Spanish words into English, but that's not accurate to our needs. So that's something we have to be aware of, is that we are teaching at, for the most part, I have to correct Estrella. It will say ashtray, or it will say Australia, because it's not identifying it as an English word. So that's things that we have to be aware of and take care of so that it's accurate to the needs of the person watching it. Okay. And like I said, as long as you can toggle on and off the captions, you are in compliance. And with that, I want to finish with this helpful little graph to show you that for YouTube, you would use the YouTube automatic captioning feature. For Canvas Studio, you would use the Canvas Studio either request or its auto captioning enabled features from the settings like I showed you, or use the auto captioning in the Google Drive. You would have to download the transcript and edit the text in a word processor to be able to edit in Google Share Drive. That is the only downside of that program right now, but it will probably improve. But it is something I want to make people aware of, is that your editing options in Google Drive are severely limited as of right now. And with that, I would open it up to questions. I see a quick question. A quick question with a lot of stuff to talk about. So I have a quick question. As a web application developer associate, I regularly receive videos that need to be added to the CGCC website. I wanted to ask if you are aware of any software or tools that can audit videos for captioning accessibility compliance, similar to how Adobe's accessibility checker works for PDFs. At this point, I'm not sure whether I should be manually reviewing the full video and transcript each time, or if there are tools available that can help validate caption accuracy, timing, and overall compliance more efficiently. Any guidance or recommendations would be greatly appreciated. Unfortunately, Nadia, at this point, it is very much the responsibility to look through the videos manually. The idea is that when people are making content, that they should not be done until the captions are done. If they've gone this long and the videos just never got captioned, unfortunately, the groups have to go through and analyze the video content. We did this in 2016. We went through every video we made on Vimeo. We tracked down anyone who was still using them to determine if they needed to still be captioned. They were going to stay. They needed to be captioned. So then there's a whole bunch of videos that aren't being used anymore. They can be taken offline, archived, so that they're not considered part of that. So what we did was we had a master list of all the videos on Vimeo. We went through everyone to make sure, yes, you want to keep this content. Now, we did use the group called rev.com, who charged at the time $1 a minute for captioning. I believe it's gone up to like $1.75 at this point. So there were scenarios where there was video content that they paid rev.com to go in and do the captions for videos that had no captions on them at all. When people work with me in the CTL, I do not publish videos until captioning is complete. But at the same time, when other people are going to go and make videos independently of the CTL, you have also taken on the responsibility of also needing to do captions. So that's the only best answer I can give you, is that we did use rev.com a while ago. And by a while ago, I mean 8 years ago. So that has gone up in price. It does start to be, if these videos are a couple thousand minutes, you're going to look at spending a couple $1,000s at least to get them to get a company to go caption them. But that's the best information I can give you based on how Estrella has handled this in the past. I hope that's a little helpful to you. Are there any other questions? Because I know I go over, you're welcome. I know I go over a lot of content here. I seem to have a little bit of time. I will show you how to switch over captions to a secondary language. Oh, was this? Daniel, if I have a Canvas introduction video needs be captioned as well. Any video content that you have should be closed captioned. If it isn't, my secondary recommendation is to provide a text transcript next to the video that can be downloaded as easily as watching the video. You can download and read the transcript. That is your alternative if you are unable to make caption files from the methods I have shown you. Because the way it works, it's a fair question, but the way it works is any content you have on here that isn't captioned is considered out of compliance. Are there any other questions before I go to that YouTube feature? I'm not seeing it, so I'm going to quickly show you. We have a little less than 10 minutes, so let's stop sharing here. I'm going to exit the PowerPoint. I'm going to return to YouTube. Go back to share. Okay. So I believe that if I have done the caption file, there is a way to add a language. And I'm going to scroll down to Spanish because that's pretty common for us to have items available in English and in Spanish. So I will scroll down to Spanish. Pardon me. Thank you. Okay, Spanish. I'm going to hit the add icon. I will go into auto translate. And what that has done has taken my English captions that I was a good boy and I edited them the right way and definitely looked through them before hitting this button. Because what it did is it took my English language and it flipped it over to Spanish. And I can go over, if I have the ability, I can go and edit in Spanish. If something is not correct, I can still go in and make corrections in the second language and hit publish. What this is doing is allowing now when you go to the video that I can toggle the captions to English or Spanish. The video is still in English. The audio is still in English, but the subtitles can be flipped over to other languages.
When it comes to ADA compliance,
So
any college-controlled content available via the internet to students and the general community must be made accessible through closed captioning.
And I'll
Closed
turn on
captioning
Spanish.
is not required for.
And then they should appear.
The caption video.
They should appear in Spanish. Now, granted, there may be a couple issues going on with Google today that people are aware of. So I might just refresh the page just to see if it'll do it.
When it comes to ADA compliance,
and now if I turn off the audio, this is providing Spanish subtitles to an English video in YouTube. Okay. So with that, I'm going to return, share. Thank you all for coming to this presentation. I hope I answered questions, but if there are more, please feel free to email us at ctl@estrellamountain.edu with the subject line video request, your name, so I know you're talking to me, and I can follow up with best steps, next solutions to see what you're trying to do with AV.